Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here. Guess with these new fresh glasses, how y'all feel about them? They got the anti-glare, they got the blue light filtering so I don't strain my eyes, now anymore. I love the glasses, but let me know, guys, down below how you think I look. You know what I'm saying? I know I look fly, but that is not the point of the video here. Of course, we're gonna talk a little bit here about Ghost of Tsushima PS5, Director's Cut upgrades, and the Iki Island overall kind of review discussion. I got some things I want to talk about this whole thing, because I know there's been a lot of talk about if this is worth the $10 upgrades for the PS5 upgrades. Is the Iki Island stuff worth it? Is it good? I'm going to cover all that here right now and just kind of have overall discussions about it. So before we get into all of that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to be like on the video, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. But let's get right into it, guys. Here I want to start off with the good, and then we'll go into kind of a little bit of the bad here. Not like bad, but kind of like we got some things to talk about. Okay, we got some things to talk about. Let's start, of course, with Iki Island as a kind of DLC part of this director's cut. So overall, it has a main quest line of like 3 to 4 hours or so. I did a full stream you can check out here on the channel. I'll link it up here if you guys were there. Shout out to y'all. But overall, I think that main storyline is a really good one. I think it's a pretty cool side story that adds a lot of context to things like Clan Sakai, Kazumasa Sakai, which is Jin's dad, and of course Jin Sakai himself, and their overall effect on this island of different raiders and thieves and all that is Iki Island, of course. And so their whole conquest on this island and the ramifications that had on not only Iki Island itself, but the people that live there as well. And so I think it's a really cool main storyline. I think it's a really neat story. It's nice, small, and tight. It's not really gonna be a lot of content, but it is something that I actually enjoyed overall, and something that we definitely did not see coming necessarily. So pretty cool to see that was there. I really liked it, but it is what it is, right? But then I really think that it gets a lot sweeter when you get into the overall island of Iki and see what it all has to offer in terms of new things like archery challenges, which I found really fun, monkey, deer, and cat sanctuaries, which I thought was a really cool and nice little music mini game that I don't think was talked about at all before this released, but I think it's a really cool addition. I really loved it. I think it was really just neat way to show how much Jin feels about these animals, and just overall just the different inhabitants in Iki Island just made it more of a living, breathing island that I really liked overall. So I thought those inclusions were really neat, and it is of course a beautiful island to explore, and having these new things really made it a lot of fun to really go and poke around at every corner and see what you can find on the island. Now of course there are things that were already in the original game on Tsushima, like of course bamboo strikes, haikus, lighthouses, shrines, and more. But overall, right, while you can say okay, those are things that we already did before in Tsushima, they're not necessarily new, I still thought that they made a very, very, very good excuse for you to spend more time in Iki Island for me personally. So, and I mean, in the original game, all those things were really fun to actually do, especially those bamboo strikes, especially those shrines and everything. And overall, like, it's just stuff that, yeah, it's not new, but it's still cool to have new aspects of them to be added to Iki Island. So overall, I love that there's a mix of new stuff and old stuff in there that we already loved to really make the experience overall together really cool. So I'm very high on Iki Island. I really like the expansion. I really think it's a cool addition to the game and everything. And for that specific DLC content, right, for $20, I think that is definitely well worth your money here for the Iki Island stuff specifically. I think it's a great addition to the game. I really like it overall, right? But let's go into some of the things that I also liked that were not just with the Iki Island DLC Director's Cut expansion type thing, right? So we have some miscellaneous upgrades that were given to us in a patch that launched alongside the Director's Cut, where we have things like, one of my favorite aspects is the alternate control schemes for Ghost of Tsushima, where they mapped the heavy and light attack to R1 and R2. This has made combat a lot better overall. I think it is a much improved improved experience with just simply moving those, you know, heavy attacks to R1, R2. There was a bit of a learning curve on switching stances because those were now enabled with the whole control scheme. You have to hold down triangle and your L1, L2, R1, R2 are used to select which stance you want. So that took a little bit of time to get used to, but overall, I think it's a much better control scheme than the original game overall. So I really like that. I think it's a great system. Really great control scheme there that they added as well. And they also added the highly requested lock-on feature, right? So I think in the interview, they said that they didn't have the lock-on because they wanted Jin to feel very much free flow, and they wanted you to feel like you could really go in any direction while you're in combat, right? Because they wanted like they really wanted combat to feel hectic and fast-paced. And I feel that, you know, after seeing this lock-on, which I thought I would have actually wanted to use a lot, I wasn't finding myself using it that much in this director's cut, even though I had it enabled in the settings. And so it is triggered by up on the D-pad, which starting off, I think that's just a weird button to map it on. Usually you see it in R3, but with director's cut, it's up on the D-pad. So I think that, you know, first and foremost, it's kind of a weird way to activate it. But even when I was using it, I didn't like the way this specific lock-on felt. I felt that I was, you know, just unintentionally switching from different enemies to enemies. And I know there's, you know, settings in there to tweak that, but I just didn't really like the lock-on system in Ghost at the end of the day, right? And I really feel that they kind of had a point with that, you know, with the way that Ghost feels better when you're kind of have a free camera and you're able to just hop to you know, target to target freely. I think it does feel a lot better, and they had a point there. But at the end of the day, for those that really like a lock-on system and really want that, it's there for you. And I think that overall it's still a good addition to the game, even though I didn't love it that much when I actually played it on, you know, my PS5. So overall, that has been kind of like the miscellaneous stuff. Let's go into the real meat and potatoes of this video, of course. The PS5 upgrades. So I'm gonna list the PS5 upgrades that we got in this director's cut right now from top to bottom, from what they have said in blog posts and different stuff like that. Okay, so first up here, of course, the Japanese lip sync, which this is of course the thing where now when you're in Japanese VO, the lips will actually sync to the Japanese audio. And this was not available on PS4 and is available on PS5 because the PS5 now has the ability to render cinematics and cutscenes in real time. And so they're able to do that more easy and more on the fly, because they were saying if they want to do it on PS4, it would take a massive overhaul, a massive workload on that whole thing for the PS4 version for it to do that, which, you know, it is what it is, right? Like, that's what they've said. I think that this should have still been a part of the PS4 game, right? I understand that, I mean, I don't understand, right? I've never made a game, so just keep that in mind, guys, you know. But overall, I still think it's kind of weird. It still feels like a bug that is a part of the PS5 upgrades, right? Like the fixing of a bug, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So overall, that's that, you know, it is what it is. But interesting fact here as well, the cinematics and cutscenes on PS5 run in 30 frames. I think more for a stylistic choice and not because that the PS5 can't render in 60 frames in terms of cutscenes. I'm pretty sure it can do that, which actually I thought would be disorienting. Honestly, it's not that bad. I got used to it very quickly, and it's kind of, you know, few and far between that you actually get thrown into a cutscene for the most part while you're playing Ghost, right? Of course, when you're doing a main storyline, you're gonna have more cutscenes, but it's not that bad, not that noticeable. Let's move on. Okay, so that's right there. Next up, of course, you have your DualSense haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, which I really like a lot. I think this is a really cool addition to the game. I think it adds a lot. The DualSense once again shines here a lot bright than what it did on the PS4 version when you're playing on PS5, obviously, and I think that it's a really good implementation. I love it. My favorite aspect is when you have Jin play the flute, you can like feel the flute. Those that have a PS5, you know what I'm saying, but like you can really feel the different, you know, sound waves going through the controller. It's weird, I'm telling you, it's true. Like it really does feel like that. Okay, so shout out to that. They also have 3D audio on PS5, which I was not able to use. I don't think my headset support it really. I'm not sure, but you know, that's there if you have 3D audio, you know, headphones that can do that. They also say here that they have quote unquote drastically improved load times. This is where we get into a little bit of the questionable side of these upgrades, right? I don't really think that the load times were drastically improved. I found them essentially unnoticeable from the PS4 game. I do think that the boot up time to boot up Ghost is a lot faster for sure, but you know, when you're like doing fast travels and different stuff like that, and there's load times, it doesn't feel that much faster than on PS4. Again, it could be because I haven't played the PS4 version in like a year, so maybe I'm wrong on that, but just off of just what I was feeling about it, and I spent a lot of time with Ghost last year, I applied on the game last year, I don't think that it's really a drastically improved load timing system on the PS5, for me personally, right? And last one here, of course, frame rate targeting 60 FPS, which I guess in theory makes it more stable than the PS5 patch that we had back in January, but once again, same thing here, it's just 60 frames, like it's not really anything that insane. It is 60 frames at a higher resolution, so that's always a benefit, and that's also one of the things with this upgrade that's really cool, but you know, it's not really, it's something that we've already been given before on Ghost of Tsushima. So overall, the director's cut upgrade, right, from PS4 to PS5, and even when you buy it on PS4, it is $20. That's only the Iki Island aspects of this whole thing, right? And then we have the extra $10 upgrade for PS5 exclusively that has the things like DualSense, haptic feedback, the drastically improved load times, the targeting 60 FPS and everything, and the Japanese lip sync, and the higher resolution that the 60 frames mode is running on, right? So that's all with the $10 upgrade, right? Overall, I don't think that this $10 necessarily should have been charged, but I'm not acting like it's a really huge deal, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, it's $10, right? And hey, to be absolutely fair, right? $10 may be different, you know, from me versus you watching this video, right? Like maybe $10 is something a lot different to you than it is to me. But you know, overall, what it really boils down to is that this upgrade, when you look at it from the PS5 perspective versus the PS4 version, even that we got last year, isn't it's just not an insane upgrade, right? Like it's not a really noticeable upgrade in terms of changes that you can visually see when you see them running side by side, right? Even I'll say, you know, which we will talk a lot about more later on in this whole video, is of course the PS5 patch that was given back in January to Ghost of Tsushima if you had it running on PS5. Even from that patch, right, when you look at the game running on that patch versus the PS5 native version, there isn't really a huge difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it looks great, but the PS4 version last year already looked great. Like it looked fantastic, right? But before we get to that, I do think that, you know, there are aspects of this update, like the lighting, I think looks a lot better on PS5. This may be placebo because they didn't list anything here about lighting changes, but I do think that the lighting looks great overall in Ghost, on Iki Island, and even on the main game and everything. But overall, it's just like I was kind of expecting and hoping that it would be a FF7 remake type of night and day, where FF7 remake on PS4 versus PS5, it looks insanely different. Like that is another step above, right? So I was kind of expecting that, and that is what I think, you know, if that's what it's capable of, right? Like if that's what the PS5 is capable of, then I would have loved to see that here on Ghost, right? But I think at the end of the day, a lot of it just has to do with, of course, the PS4 version of Ghost already looking really great. So how much better can you make it look on PS5 and everything without, you know, requiring like a huge amount of development time and a huge amount of stuff, because I assume they're working on a sequel already at this point, or at least in pre-production, right? So how much do you really want to dedicate to Ghost of Tsushima proper as opposed to working on the sequel? That also has a lot to do with it, which I can really understand that. But you know, even when you look at things like when they say drastically, you know, fast load times or drastically improved load times, right? On PS4, they were quoted with saying that they even had to shorten the load times on PS4 Ghost of Tsushima because they were so fast. And so when we have things like that, right, where the PS4 already loaded so fast that they had to slow it down, it's just kind of, you know, odd, right? Where it's like there really isn't that much of an insane change overall, right? Which I think a part of that really does make it a little bit less impressive, if you will, from the PS5 version, just because, you know, the original game looks great and already ran great and everything. Of course, 30 frames, But I mean, just in terms of load times, it ran great and loaded great. And the other aspect as well is that PS5 patch that was released in January for Ghost of Tsushima on PS5, that gave us not a ton, only essentially an unlocked frame rate on Ghost, so that on PS5 it ran at 60 frames even in the high resolution mode, running at 1800p on PlayStation 5 with that PS5 patch for the PS4 version of Ghost of Tsushima, right? I feel like if we never got that, this upgrade would be, I think, very, very highly talked about, a lot better than what it is now, where it's like, you know, it's really not an insane step, right? And I think that, you know, while yes, I am very pleased that we got it, right, I do question of like, is there a Last of Us 2 director's cut in the works at this point, right? Because we already got a PS5 patch for that unlocked the frame rate on that game. So I wonder if the director's cut is going to be the same story where it's not as impressive like on Ghost of Tsushima, or, you know, does that mean that Horizon Zero Dawn is poised for a director's cut version, since that got a patch already this past week, which, by the way, check out that video, definitely do. You know, like, I think that's going to be received a lot better just because Horizon Zero Dawn is an older game, and I think it has more room to be improved and grow. But I just don't think that, you know, Ghost really had a lot of room to look that much better or run that much better or, you know, etc. on the PS5 version. So overall, bottom line, right, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the $10 upgrade is not worth it. Like, worth is in the eye of the beholder, so, and it's your money, so do with that as you will. And from my perspective, right, I am primarily a PS5 user, right, and I want the best quality experience for my games on PlayStation 5. So for me, the $10 upgrade was definitely something that I was going to buy regardless of how I felt, right? But overall, right, like, stepping back and, you know, spending time with it and everything, if you just want to play Ghosts and you bought it last year and you got the free update with the PS5 version, not with the PS5 version, with the PS5 patch that came out in January, and you're cool with that 60 frames and you don't care about the DualSense or the you know, haptic feedback and that the triggers, the 3D audio, the Japanese lip sync, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't care about that, I say, honestly, I don't think you need to buy the $10 version. You know what I'm saying? I would say, you know, you have the DualSense, so I guess why not spend the $10? But I just don't think it's necessary, right? Like, I just don't think the $10 charge was necessarily something that had to happen. I definitely feel like if the PS5 upgrades were just blended in to your purchase of the Director's Cut upgrade for $20, and that's all you're paying, I think it would have been received a lot better, right, overall. And so that's where I'm at with it, guys. I just don't think it's a night and day experience, like life-changing thing for Ghost on PS5. But let me know down below, guys, what are your thoughts? What do you think about the whole Director's Cut upgrade? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have similar thoughts that I have? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure also, while you are down there, hit up that description. You can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and an Anchor link. That way you can listen to Saves a Lot podcast every single Sunday here up on podcast services of your choice. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.